Okay, so, uh, you know how everyone's always talking about AI, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
going to take over the world. Well, I've been thinking about it, and it really feels like AI is already changing how we search for jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just like those high-level tech jobs you see on the news, but like every job.
It's true. Every single industry is being touched by AI in some way.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. So for this deep dive, I wanted to really dig into this whole AI and job hunting thing because honestly, it's a little intimidating.
It definitely can be. A lot of people are feeling that way, especially with all the new tools and technologies popping up.
Right. So I found this tool, RoleCatcher, and it's supposed to be like this secret weapon for job hunting in the age of AI.
Interesting. I've heard of them. They use AI to help you optimize your resume and application materials.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, I don't want to just like game the system. I want to understand how it works, you know? Like, what are these AI recruiters actually looking for?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people are kind of mystified by the whole process.
Totally. It's like, am I even talking to a real person anymore? Or is it just a robot scanning my resume for keywords?
Well, it's kind of both, to be honest. A lot of companies use these things called applicant tracking systems, ATS for short.
Applicant tracking systems. Okay, that sounds intense.
They basically scan your resume and application for certain keywords and phrases that match the job description.
Ah, so it's like a giant digital filter.
Exactly. And if your resume doesn't have the right keywords, it might never even be seen by a human recruiter. It's tough.
Whoa, that is kind of intense. So is that where Rollcatcher comes in? Does it like help you write a resume that can get past those filters?
Exactly. One of the things they emphasize is making sure your resume is optimized for these AI systems. They analyze job descriptions, identify the most important skills and keywords, and then help you incorporate those into your resume.
That makes sense. But how do they do that? Like, do I have to become a programmer or something?
No, not at all. That's the beauty of it, really. They've designed it to be user-friendly, even for people who aren't tech-savvy. You basically upload your resume, and their AI does the rest.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So it's like having a personal resume writer, but digital.
Yeah, kind of like that. They analyze your skills and experience, compare them to the job descriptions you're interested in, and then suggest improvements to make your resume more likely to stand out to both the AI and the human recruiter.
So you don't want to completely lose that human touch, right? Because at the end of the day, even if you get past the AI gatekeeper, you still have to impress a real person.
Definitely. The human element is still crucial, and RoleCatcher seems to understand that. They offer tools and resources to help you prepare for interviews, network effectively, and develop those soft skills that are so important in today's job market. It's not just about beating the
I
robots.
was just going to say, it can't just be about tricking the algorithm, right? You still need the actual skills and experience to back it up.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really interesting, because RoleCatcher doesn't stop at just resume optimization. They also offer these in-depth career guides.
Okay, yeah. I was reading about those on their website. They have guides for all sorts of different roles and industries, right? Like one that really caught my eye was for skipper.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that one too. It's not every day you see a career guide for a skipper.
Right. It's so cool. Like, how often do you think they update that one? It makes me wonder, what does a career path even look like for a skipper these days?
I don't know, but that's what's so great about these guides.
Yeah.
They give you a really detailed look at different career paths.
Yeah, they break down like the skills you need, the experience level, even potential salary ranges. It's super helpful.
Exactly. And they do that for tons of different roles, from software engineers to graphic designers to, well, skippers.
Mm.
I think it's a really valuable resource, especially for people who are just starting out or thinking about making a career change.
Definitely. So, we've talked about how RoleCatcher can help you optimize your resume and research different career paths. But what about the actual job search? Can it help you find jobs too?
Oh, absolutely. One of their key features is job aggregation.
Job aggregation. Okay, break that down for me. What does that even mean?
So instead of you having to go to all these different job boards, Indeed, LinkedIn, company websites, RoleCatcher pulls job listings from all those sources into one place.
Okay, so it's like having a personal job search assistant. That sounds amazing, actually.
Right. It saves you so much time and effort because you don't have to waste time checking a million different websites every day. And you can set up alerts so you're notified as soon as new jobs that match your criteria are posted.
That's so smart. It's like, why didn't anyone think of this sooner? I feel like I've wasted so many hours just clicking through endless job boards.
And it's not just about convenience either. Because RoleCatcher is pulling data from all these different sources, you're more likely to find jobs that you might have missed otherwise.
Oh, that's a good point. Sometimes it feels like those job boards only show you a fraction of what's really out there.
Exactly. And that's where RoleCatcher can give you a real edge.
So it sounds like RoleCatcher can help with a lot of the technical aspects of job hunting, optimizing your resume, finding relevant jobs, all that good stuff. But what about the more, I don't know, human side of things, like interview skills, networking, all that?
You're right, those are crucial. And that's something that really impressed me about RoleCatcher. They don't just focus on the tech side of things. They also have a bunch of features designed to help you develop those essential human skills that are still so important in today's job market.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, remember we were talking about those applicant tracking systems earlier? How they scan your resume for keywords.
Oh, yeah. Those things are kind of scary.
Well, RoleCatcher has this really cool feature where you can actually paste a job description into their platform, and it will analyze the language and identify the key skills and qualifications that the employer is looking for.
Oh, that's smart. So it's like they're helping you speak the AI's language.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Once you know what the AI is looking for, you can use that information to tailor your resume and cover letter in a way that also appeals to a human reader.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
So it's not just about stuffing your resume with keywords. It's about understanding what those keywords represent, the actual skills and experience that the employer values, and then communicating those in a clear, compelling way.
That makes sense. So it's like you're using the AI as a tool to help you craft a better message, but you're still the one in control of the message itself.
Exactly. And that's really important because at the end of the day, no matter how advanced AI gets, it's still humans who are making the hiring decisions.
It's like we're working with the AI, not against it.
Precisely. And that's something that RoleCatcher seems to understand really well. They're not trying to replace human recruiters. They're trying to empower job seekers to navigate this new landscape more effectively. It's like having a coach in your corner, helping you put your best foot forward.
I like that analogy. It's like AI can be a powerful tool, but it's still just a tool. It's up to us to use it wisely. But before we get too deep into the philosophical implications of all this, let's back up for a second. We've thrown around a lot of information about RoleCatcher, but for our listeners who are just tuning in, can we quickly recap what exactly it is and what it does?
Sure. RoleCatcher is essentially an AI-powered career development platform. It's designed to help people navigate every stage of the job search, from finding open positions to optimizing their applications to preparing for interviews and even beyond. They do this through a variety of features, including job aggregation, resume optimization, interview practice, and those really cool in-depth career guides we were just talking about. They also seem to be really focused on helping people develop those essential human skills that are becoming even more important as AI becomes more prevalent in the workplace.
Yeah, and what I really appreciate about their approach is that they're not just trying to help you game the system or trick the algorithms. They're really trying to empower job seekers to understand how AI is changing the hiring process and to use that knowledge to their advantage.
I agree. I think that's what makes them stand out in a crowded market. They're not just about quick fixes or shortcuts. They're about providing people with the tools and knowledge they need to build successful careers in the long term.
It's like they're saying, hey, AI is here to stay, so let's figure out how to work with it, not against it.
Exactly. And I think that's a really empowering message, especially for people who might be feeling anxious or overwhelmed by all the changes happening in the world of work right now. There's a lot of opportunity out there, but you need to know how to navigate this new landscape. And that's what RoleCatcher can help you do.
I love that. It's about taking control of your career, even in the face of all this rapid technological change. So we've talked a lot about the technical aspects of RoleCatcher, how it uses AI to analyze job descriptions, optimize resumes, and all that good stuff. But I'm curious to dig a little deeper into those career guides you mentioned earlier, because they seem like a really valuable resource, especially for people who are maybe just starting out in their careers or thinking about making a change.
Oh, absolutely. I think those career guides are one of the most underrated features of RoleCatcher.
Yeah.
They're packed with so much valuable information.
Yeah, and they're not just like generic career advice either. They're really specific to different roles and industries, right?
Exactly. They have guides for everything from software engineering to marketing to finance to healthcare to education to, well, you name it. They probably have a guide for it, and they're constantly adding new ones.
Yeah, and what's cool is that they go beyond just the basic job description. They give you a real sense of what it's actually like to work in that field, the day-to-day responsibilities, the
Yep.
skills and qualifications you need to succeed, even the potential career paths you can take.
And they often include interviews with people who are actually working in those roles so you can get a firsthand perspective on what it's really like.
That's so helpful because let's be real, sometimes the job description doesn't tell the whole story.
Exactly. Like a job title might sound glamorous on paper, but then you get into the day-to-day reality and it's like, wait, this isn't what I signed up for.
Okay, so let's say I'm interested in a particular career path. How do I actually use RoleCatcher's career guides to explore that? Like, walk me through the process.
Sure. So first you go to the RoleCatcher website and navigate to their career guides section. They have a search bar where you can type in a specific job title or industry that you're interested in.
Okay, so if I'm interested in becoming let's say, a UX designer, I would just type that in.
Exactly. And then a list of relevant career guides will pop up. You can click on the one that seems most interesting to you, and it will take you to a page with a ton of information about that specific role. You'll typically see things like a detailed job description, a breakdown of the required skills and qualifications, information about salary expectations, and often even examples of real-life job postings in that field. They really go above and beyond to provide as much information as possible. Plus, they often have those interviews we talked about, where you can hear from people who are actually working in those roles. They can share insights about their career journeys, the challenges they've faced, the rewards they've experienced, and what advice they would give to someone just starting out.
That's so valuable to get that kind of insider perspective. It's like having a mentor in your back pocket.
Exactly. And the best part is, it's all free. You don't need a subscription to access any of the career guides.
That's amazing. So even if you're not quite ready to start applying for jobs, you can still use RoleCatcher to explore different career paths, learn about different industries, and start building your professional network.
Precisely. I think it's a fantastic resource for anyone who is at all curious about their career options, regardless of where they are in their journey.
Okay, so now that we have a better understanding of how RoleCatcher's career guides work, let's dive into some specific examples. Remember that skipper guide we were talking about earlier? I'm curious to know more about what kind of information they provide for that role.
Oh, me too. That one really piqued my interest. I mean, how often do you get to learn about the ins and outs of being a skipper? It's not your typical 9 to 5 desk job.
Right. And I think it's a great example of how these career guides can be helpful for exploring roles that you might not even know that much about. Like, before I saw that guide, I had a very vague idea of what a skipper actually did. I just pictured someone steering a yacht around the Caribbean, which, don't get me wrong, sounds pretty great, but I'm guessing there's a lot more to it than that.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Like, what kind of qualifications do you need to be a skipper? What are the different types of skipper jobs out there? What's the earning potential like? These are all questions that the RoleCatcher guide probably answers.
And what about the skills? Like, obviously, you need to know how to sail, but are there other skills that are important for skippers to have?
That's a great question. I would imagine that communication skills are crucial, especially if you're working with a crew or passengers. And then there are the logistical aspects of the job, like planning routes, managing supplies, ensuring the safety of everyone on board.
Sure.
It seems like a role that requires a unique combination of technical skills, people skills, and problem-solving abilities.
Totally. And I'm guessing that the specific skills and qualifications you need will vary depending on the type of skipper job you're interested in. Like being a skipper on a private yacht is probably very different from being a skipper on a commercial fishing vessel.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing that the RoleCatcher guide probably delves into, the different career paths available to skippers. They might have sections on things like yacht chartering, commercial fishing, cruise ship work, maybe even research expeditions or environmental conservation efforts. The possibilities seem endless.
This is making me want to go read that skipper guide right now. It sounds fascinating, but okay, let's say I've read the guide. I'm super interested in becoming a skipper, but I have no idea where to start. What are some practical steps that someone in that position could take based on what they've learned from RoleCatcher?
That's a great question. And I think it highlights how RoleCatcher goes beyond just providing information. They also want to empower people to take action. So, for someone interested in becoming a skipper, the guide might suggest things like getting certified in sailing and navigation. There are probably specific certifications that are recognized in the industry, and the guide would likely point you in the right direction. They might also recommend networking with other skippers or joining professional organizations to learn more about the field and make connections. And of course, they would highlight relevant job boards or online resources for finding skipper positions.
That's so helpful. It's like they're giving you a roadmap for how to turn your dream career into a reality.
Exactly. And that's what I find so empowering about this whole approach to job hunting. It's not just about submitting as many applications as possible and hoping for the best. It's about being strategic, doing your research, and putting yourself out there in a way that aligns with your values and aspirations.
So it's less about finding a job and more about designing your ideal career.
Exactly. And that's a much more empowering and fulfilling way to think about work.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about how RoleCatcher can help you optimize your resume, find relevant jobs, and explore different career paths. But what about the interview process? Can AI be helpful there too? Because let's be real, interviews can be terrifying.
Oh, tell me about it. I think interviews are one of the most nerve-wracking parts of the job search. But you're right, AI can actually be incredibly helpful during the interview process as well.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How so?
Well, remember we were talking about how RoleCatcher analyzes job descriptions to identify keywords and skills?
Yeah.
Well, they use that same technology to help you prepare for interviews.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly. It's like having a secret weapon to help you ace those tough questions. They have a feature where you can practice answering common interview questions, and their AI will give you feedback on your responses. It analyzes things like your tone of voice, your body language, even your word choice, and provides suggestions for improvement. It's like having a virtual career coach right there with you, helping you put your best foot forward.
That is wild. So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it too.
Exactly. And that's something that a lot of people overlook when they're preparing for interviews. They focus so much on memorizing answers or coming up with the perfect thing to say that they forget about the importance of nonverbal communication. Like, are you making eye contact? Are
Mhm.
you smiling? Are you using open and engaging body language? These are all things that can make a big difference in how you come across to the interviewer. And RoleCatcher's AI can help you fine-tune those aspects of your presentation.
That's so smart. So you practice answering questions, the AI gives you feedback, and then you go into the real interview feeling more confident and prepared.
Exactly. And the best part is, you can practice as many times as you need to until you feel completely comfortable. It's like having unlimited mock interviews without the pressure of a real person judging you.
That's a game changer. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about how RoleCatcher can help you optimize your resume, find relevant jobs, explore different career paths, and even ace your interviews. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I wanted to touch on one more thing that I found really interesting about RoleCatcher. They seem to be very aware of the potential downsides of AI in hiring and are actively working to mitigate those risks.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. I think it's incredibly responsible of them to be thinking about these issues, especially given how quickly AI is evolving.
Right, like we've all heard the horror stories about AI bias and algorithms perpetuating existing inequalities. It's definitely something to be mindful of, especially in a context as high stakes as hiring.
Exactly. And what I appreciate about RoleCatcher is that they're not shying away from these conversations. They're actually leaning into them and being very transparent about the steps they're taking to ensure that their technology is being used ethically and responsibly.
Okay, so give me some specifics. What are they actually doing to address those concerns?
Well, for starters, we're very upfront about the fact that AI is not a magic solution. They emphasize that their technology is just one tool among many that can be used to improve the hiring process. They're not claiming that AI can or should replace human judgment entirely.
That's good to hear because I think there's a danger in putting too much faith in algorithms, especially when it comes to something as complex as human potential.
Exactly. And that's why RoleCatcher is so focused on empowering job seekers to understand how AI works and to use it to their advantage. They want people to be informed consumers of this technology, not passive recipients of its decisions.
So it's about giving people agency in the process rather than just handing over control to the machines.
Precisely. And that's something that I think is really important, especially in a world where AI is becoming more and more ubiquitous.
Okay, so they're being transparent about the limitations of AI and empowering job seekers to understand how it works. What else are they doing to ensure ethical AI development and use?
Well, they're also very careful about the data they use to train their algorithms. They're committed to using diverse and representative data sets to minimize the risk of bias creeping into their systems.
Ah, that's really important.
Yeah,
Because if you train an AI on a biased data set, it's going to produce biased results. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
exactly. So RoleCatcher is very intentional about sourcing their data from a wide range of sources and ensuring that it reflects the diversity of the real world. They also have a team of data scientists and ethicists who are constantly monitoring their algorithms for any signs of bias or unintended consequences. and they're committed to making adjustments as needed to ensure that their technology is being used fairly and equitably.
That's reassuring to hear. It sounds like they're really trying to stay ahead of the curve on this issue. Because it's one thing to develop a cool new technology, but it's another thing entirely to deploy it responsibly and ethically.
I completely agree. And I think that's what sets RoleCatcher apart from some of the other players in this space. They're not just focused on building the most advanced AI, they're also deeply committed to using that AI for good.
That's a great place to leave it for this part of our deep dive. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, from the technical aspects of RoleCatcher's AI to the ethical considerations of using this technology in hiring. We've talked about how RoleCatcher can help you optimize your resume, find relevant jobs, explore different career paths, ace your interviews, and even navigate the potential pitfalls of AI bias.
It's been a really fascinating conversation.
Yeah,
And I think we've only just scratched the surface of what's possible with AI in the world of work.
absolutely. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll delve even deeper into the potential of AI-powered job hunting and explore how these tools can help us not just find jobs, but actually design our ideal careers. So it sounds like RoleCatcher has really thought about the whole job hunting process from start to finish.
Yeah, they covered a lot of ground. But you know what really struck me when I was looking at their stuff?
What's that?
It's not just about like, here's the tech, go get them. They actually spend a lot of time talking about the importance of human skills in this whole AI-driven job market.
Okay, that's interesting. Because sometimes it feels like with all this talk about AI and automation, those human skills are getting lost in the shuffle.
Totally. Like, are we all just going to be coding robots or something? But RoleCatcher seems to be saying, hold on, there's still a lot of value in what makes us human.
Which I appreciate.
Right.
Because I am definitely not cut out for a life of coding.
Me neither. But seriously, think about it. Even with all the advancements in AI, there's still so many things that computers just can't replicate.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, things like creativity, critical thinking, empathy, communication, problem solving, those are all uniquely human skills that are going to be even more valuable in the future.
Okay, yeah. Those are all really important skills, regardless of your profession.
Exactly. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the hype of all the new tech, but at the end of the day, it's those human skills that really set us apart.
So how does RoleCatcher actually help you develop those skills? Because it's one thing to say, hey, don't forget about the human stuff, but it's another thing to actually provide tools and resources to help people improve in those areas.
You're right, they definitely walk the walk. Remember we were talking about their interview practice feature?
Oh, yeah. With the AI feedback, that sounded kind of mind-blowing, to be honest.
It is pretty cool. So they have this massive database of interview questions tailored to all sorts of different industries and roles.
So you're not just getting generic interview advice, you're getting questions that are specific to the types of jobs you're actually interested in.
That's the idea. And what's really neat is that you can actually record yourself answering these questions, and their AI will analyze your responses.
Wait, really? Like it watches you and everything?
Well, it analyzes your voice and your words. And based on that analysis, it gives you personalized feedback.
No way. That's wild. What kind of feedback does it give you?
All sorts of stuff. Like it can tell you if you're speaking too fast or too slow, if you're using too many filler words like and if your tone of voice is engaging, all kinds of things.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal speech coach, but without the awkward small talk.
Exactly. And it can also pick up on things like, are you using confident language? Are you clearly articulating your thoughts? Are you making your points persuasively?
Okay, that's super helpful because I know, for me at least, sometimes I get nervous in interviews and I start rambling or I don't get my point across as clearly as I could.
I totally get it. Interviews can be nerve-wracking. But that's what's so cool about this feature. It gives you a safe space to practice and get feedback so that when you're in the actual interview, you can be more confident and composed.
That's a game changer. So it's like the AI is helping you put your best foot forward, but it's still you, your skills, your experience that are shining through.
Precisely. And that's something they emphasize a lot, that AI is a tool to augment your abilities, not to replace them.
I like that. It's about empowerment, not replacement.
Exactly. And that brings me to another point about their approach to human skills. They don't just focus on the individual. They also talk a lot about the importance of building relationships and networks.
Okay, so networking, that's another one of those things that can feel really intimidating, especially for introverts like me.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
But I think what RoleCatcher does really well is they break it down into manageable steps.
Like what?
Well, for starters, they have a whole section on their website dedicated to networking tips and strategies.
Okay, so they're not just assuming that everyone knows how to network effectively. They're actually providing guidance.
Exactly. Like, they have articles on how to write a great LinkedIn profile, how to reach out to people you admire, how to make the most of networking events.
That's helpful because sometimes it feels like there's this secret networking code that nobody tells you about.
Right. But RoleCatcher tries to demystify the whole thing. And they also offer tools to help you manage your network.
Like what? Like a CRM for your contacts?
Kinda. They have a feature where you can keep track of who you've met, where you met them, what you talked about.
Oh, that's smart. Because I don't know about you, but I meet so many people at conferences and events, and it's hard to remember everyone.
Right. But with this tool, you can jot down notes after each interaction, so you can remember those details later on.
It would be so helpful, especially when you're following up with someone.
Exactly. Because personalization is key when it comes to networking.
Nobody wants to feel like they're just another name on your list.
Exactly. So RoleCatcher is all about helping you build genuine, authentic relationships with people in your field.
Which, at the end of the day, is what networking is really all about.
Exactly. It's not just about collecting business cards. It's about building relationships that can lead to opportunities down the line.
I like that. It's about playing the long game, building a network of people who you can learn from, collaborate with, and support each other.
Precisely. And that's something that AI can't replicate. It takes human connection to build those kinds of relationships.
So we've talked about how RoleCatcher emphasizes the importance of human skills, even in the age of AI. We've discussed their interview practice feature, their networking tips, and their focus on building genuine relationships. But I'm curious, how does this all tie back to those career guides we were talking about earlier?
That's a great question. I think the career guides are a perfect example of how RoleCatcher blends those human skills with their AI-powered tools. Remember how we talked about how the guides provide a ton of information about different roles and industries?
Yeah, they're like a one-stop shop for career research.
Exactly. But it's more than just information overload. The guides are designed to help you think critically about your own skills, interests, and values, and how those align with different career paths.
So it's not just about finding a job that matches your skills on paper, it's about finding a career that you're actually passionate about.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's where those human skills come in, things like self-awareness, reflection, and the ability to connect the dots between your interests and the world of work.
Because a job is one thing, but a fulfilling career is a whole other ballgame.
Exactly. And I think RoleCatcher understands that. They
Yeah.
want to help people find careers that light them up, not just jobs that pay the bills.
That's a great way to put it. So it sounds like these career guides are designed to be more than just informational resources. They're almost like a coaching tool to help you figure out what you want to do with your life.
That's a great way to think about it. Like, they're prompting you to ask yourself those big picture questions about what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and what kind of impact you want to make in the world.
And then they provide you with the information and resources you need to start exploring those possibilities.
Exactly. It's about empowering you to take ownership of your career journey with the support of AI along the way.
It's like they're taking all this stuff that can feel really overwhelming, the AI, the job market, all of it, and they're breaking it down into these manageable steps, you know?
Totally. It's like they're saying, hey, we get it. It's a lot to process, but we're here to help you make sense of it all.
Exactly. But okay, let's say someone's listening to this right now and they're like, this is all great in theory, but how does it actually help me get a job? What's the takeaway?
That's a great question.
Like, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's up to us as individuals and as a society to decide how we're going to use this technology.
So it's not just about adapting to the technology, it's about shaping how that technology gets used.
Exactly. And I think that's really empowering because it means that we still have agency, we still have a voice in all of this.
I like that. It's not a done deal, we're still writing the story.
Exactly. And I think tools like RoleCatcher are a really exciting part of that story because they're showing us that it's possible to use AI in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It's about democratizing opportunity, leveling the playing field.
Exactly. And that's something I'm really passionate about because at the end of the day, I think everyone deserves the chance to find a job they love, a career that's meaningful and fulfilling.
And with these new AI-powered tools, we have the potential to make that a reality for more people than ever before.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Well, there you have it, folks. We hope this deep dive into the world of AI and job hunting has been helpful, eye-opening, maybe even a little bit inspiring. The future of work is changing, but it's up to us to shape that future into something positive and empowering.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So until next time, stay curious, stay adaptable, and most importantly, stay human.